So before this video even starts, I just want to get on here and just apologize. This video is quite a bit of a fucking yap. So I'm just gonna have your cliff notes up now. But I'll get into, each of these, parts in the video. The next video, I'm not sure how many times. I can't even remember. I'm editing the video right now. I can't remember how many times I've said it. The next video, I'm gonna cover generating LUTs and, the secondary acceleration shit. That's all. Honestly, a lot of that's for drifting. Which is, if you've seen my videos, I do a lot of drifting. So yeah, we're gonna cover that in the next video, and the next video will be formatted a lot nicer. I'll actually write a script and shit. This one's, I pretty much just hopped on the game, started recording, and started yapping. So yeah, apologies for that, but I hope it's alright. Yeah. So yeah. Alright guys, this is part 1 to a little series I'm gonna do. Just, knowing how to set up your wheel for BeamNG.Drive. There's quite a bit that you should know, because BeamNG is a bit of a weird game in the way that it does force feedback. It's not like Assetto Corsa, Assetto Corsa is, a way I like to explain it, right, is, why am I getting snaps? One of the ways I like to explain it is, think of it like a ball, right? A ball that's in the air and it gets dropped down. Now, Assetto Corsa is like, alright, so given the ball's this high up and weighs this much and has this much fucking rubbery fucking bounciness to it, it'll bounce up 50% of the original height. Set in stone. Can't change that. Well, you can if you modify the code. And then BeamNG is kind of like, you get the ball, it knows all that shit, you drop it, and it's like, I don't know what will fucking happen, let's just do it. As a baseline, let's go into here, let's go into my settings for my Thrustmaster TMX Pro. So you're going to want to set this your 1-to-1 steering angle, set that to whatever your wheel is. So, like, most of your Logitechs, your Xbox Thrustmasters, not the PlayStation ones, those are different. So most of your Logitechs and your Xbox Thrustmasters are 900 degrees. But then things like the T300 RS GT, which is a PlayStation Thrustmaster wheel. That one I believe is like 1020. I could be wrong. But it's the same with like the PlayStation version of the TMX. I can't remember what that one's called, but that one is also more. It has a higher rotation to it. I'm not sure why they do that. I'm not sure why the PlayStation ones are higher than the Xbox ones. But set that to whatever your wheel is. And then your 1-to-1 behavior. Faster if needed. That's what works for me. You're going to want to make sure your linearity and your dead zone rest and your dead zone end, those are set to 0. Don't mess with those. For your inverted axis, if you turn it to the right and it goes to the right on here, that's fine. You don't need to invert it. For your inverted force feedback, what we're going to do is, let's go into the UI apps. I've already got it added. You're going to want to go add app and then scroll down to, or just type it in, steering position. Add that, make it nice and big so you can see it. Because we're going to be using that to, actually I'm going to get out of this menu for now. We're going to be using that to figure out what to set our strength to. Now, with the inverted force feedback, what I can do, right, is if my car's parked up and the wheels are touching the ground, they have to be touching the ground. If I turn the wheel to the right, see how this red underneath goes to the same direction? That means it's set up correctly. So that means it is fighting the force feedback. Well, it's not, sorry. Which means it is fighting your movement of the wheel, which makes sense, because, your tires have friction, the ground has friction, they're trying to rotate, the ground's not rotating. So it's gonna have resistance to it. That's correct. You want it to be hard to turn. You want it to fight. Now, if I were to say, on some wheels, I believe you do need to invert this. And this is like the opposite. So if I were to turn the wheel, it is super light And if I let go, see, it keeps going a little bit. And that's because instead of fighting, it is going with it. So I'll do this, right? I'm rotating with my hands, and then I let go. I didn't do it that time. I'll go a bit faster. I let go. That's kind of what will happen to some people's wheels, I believe. And in that case, you need to check or uncheck that box, because that's not how, you know, that's the opposite of what should be happening. So for me, I have it off. Now what I'm going to do is, currently I have this set up to what my wheel likes, and we'll see why. If I just, let's boost this up. So what the strength does is it's essentially like a gain value. So you can see this is much harder. You know, I've rotated it before. This is much harder now. I can compare them. You know, it's much harder than it was before because the gain has been turned up. So let's go for a drive. So if I get off and I start going, I'm just driving along. You can see as I get into a corner, see how that force feedback just immediately starts clipping. That's not what we want, because the force feedback clipping, like it is now, essentially means it is using up 100% of your wheel's power, which means for going over shit like a curb, I felt it then, but that was a bad example. That essentially means that, you know, it's hard. It's a hard thing to explain. You're not leaving any room for more detail to come in. So it feels super nice and weighted. But then once we get into the corners, there's understeer. See, it drops off. That's normal. It feels nice and weighted and strong in the straights. Now that's good. However, what we have done is, because the strength is so high, as soon as we put load on the front wheels, you know, when we're turning, and that maxes out, we are losing all the detail, which is bad when you're at the very limit of the car. When you're at the very limit of the car, you want to be able to feel every little bit, so you can, I'm going to bin it, so you can adjust for whatever might happen, because you can feel it coming before, you know, it's too late. That's what the force feedback's for, so you can feel the car. Adds an extra dimension. Now you can see that was, you know, it was clipping the whole time, basically. Around corners it was clipping. So let's go set this, I don't know why this is up here. Alright, there we go. Let's go set this to how I had it before, which is what you want. You want to adjust this value until you get this result that you're about to see. So you can see it is no longer as strong. That red is not going anywhere near as high. So let's just go. No, just go along. As I get into a corner, see, that is nowhere near as high. And that's what you want, because that is giving you, you know, your, what's it called? That's given it plenty of room to, say, if I were to go over this, you know, now, obviously I felt it, I can feel it there. As I go around a corner, I'm not maxing out the wheel, which is what you want, because, like I said, I just want to really set this in. That's what you want. You might argue, oh, it's not using 100% of the torque. That's what you want. You need to have room. If you don't have room, that's not realistic. Now obviously it being not as strong is also not as realistic. But that's what happens when you don't have a high torque wheel. Now, you're going to want to find that optimal value. So mine was 270. That's what I found is best for me. However, you want to find that value in a the cars that you drive the most in this game. So if you drive around little shit boxes, you know, that sort of thing, get in one of those and adjust that strength value in the controls until you get that result that you saw from me doing that lap. However, every car is different. Some cars have more grip than others. So if we get into a car with very little grip, you'll see what happens, and this can happen the other way around. If you're in a car that has way more grip than what you're used to, or like I said, way less grip than you're used to, your strength is not going to be the same. Unfortunately, the game does not automatically account for that sort of thing. So this would have less grip, right? And I might even make it have even less grip to really exaggerate the effect that this can have. So if we get back in and we, you know, go for a drive, see, that is quite low. It's only getting to about half currently. And see, around corners, I'll try not to understeer it, but it's hard because I've got no grip. You can see it is nowhere near as high. This is like a car we drive occasionally. You know, and what we do in that is, because we weren't using 100% of our wheel, we go into the tuning setting and bump up the setup specific force feedback multiplier. Now this is per config, not per car. So we can start her up. And let's take her for a spin now. So, oh, I felt that one. That was quite a bit more, you know, jolt to the wheel, just straight off the bat. See, as we get into the corners, try not to oversteer it again. That already has peaked much. What that's done is that is multiplied the force feedback by 1.2 times in this config, which is good. Now I am using 20% more of my wheel torque, and that's what we want. Now this, I could probably bump it up to maybe 125, 130%, because what we want is we can have it just touch clipping. That means we are using 100% of the wheel without just losing detail. Now smoothing, that's kind of self-explanatory. That's just how much the game puts like a filter over your force feedback, which it'll change for everyone. Like, I could set this smoothing down to 0, and that'll mean that whatever the game wants my wheel to feel, that is what I will feel. I can feel so much more of just the road now. See you guys in the next one. Hopefully you stick around. Hopefully, if you like this video, make sure to leave a like. I never used to do that when I used to, you know, watch a lot of YouTube, but ever since kind of creating my own content, I've really realized how much that helps. If you really fucking love it and you want to see the next video, smash that subscribe button. It'll come out. I don't want to give a deadline. I'm a fucking busy man. This is more just doing it in my free time for a mate. Yeah, so yeah. Have a good one.